and a man who's going to need a little bit of energy in this matchup. It is the Red Zerg from Alpha X. It's Demi.
That's right, in the top right here, this guy was looking real good last season. Let's see if he can make top 4 again. From Psystorm Gaming, this is TeebuL. So I really like with the group stages we've got, this is the Oceanic Rest of Asia tournament, and we're getting straight down the middle representations of the Oceanic region and the rest of Asia regions. So yeah, a nice selection. Of course, we're going to start eliminating players pretty quickly here. Unfortunately, we've already lost one rest of Asia player with Ranger getting excused out of Group A. We just started with Group B. So I'm very much expecting both Demi and TeebuL to make top 2. But who is going to be where, I think, is the big question. Well,
you're saying equal representation, but we've already cut all the New Zealanders out, but who cares about that anyway? It doesn't really matter.
And then we can cut the region down a little bit. Like when we cast the Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, Japan region, we start to just call it the Taiwan region after a few regions, because it does end up usually being the case. Sometimes the New Zealanders get trimmed from the herd a little bit earlier as well, unfortunately. Love to our New Zealanders, though. Your Mighty Kiwis, your Crimsons. Always fun to see in the tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about 12 pulls earlier, and that's immediately what I thought of. Sneaky little probe down here, though.
Oh, hello. What are you up to, little fella? Proxy pylon.
You were talking about it before. You're the one who expects TeebuL to be a little bit sneakier, and already showing some of those tendencies there. Maybe try to sneak a little Stargate down there and proxy an Oracle.
Yeah, I'm feeling a Stargate, just because of the positioning of it. But you know what I really like? I really like a proxy Twilight Council and Dark Shrine. I don't think that's going to be the case this time. He's waiting for that 150 gas. It's going to be a Stargate. Ah, boo. Be a man. Drop a Twilight Council. Ah, all right. Stargate. We'll take it. We'll take it. It's still aggressive. It's still weird. And it's going to be the onus on Demi here to scout it and see what his opponent is up to.
He's open Stalker as well, just to push the Overlord away. But I was kind of wondering, is it going to be a depth follow-up as he starts to move along through his probes? So a little bit of multi-pronged harassment. He's not throwing caution to the wind or anything. Nothing super crazy, but just wanting to keep the Zerg a little bit honest. As you can see, Demi definitely flexing his macro muscles at the moment. Wants to go pretty quickly up towards those 3 hatches.
Yeah, 3 hatches about as quick as you want here in ZVP, especially when you don't know exactly what your opponent is up to. As Demi's Overlord's been pushed back, like you mentioned, with that Stalker first. Tough to get any more information than that. You don't really drone scout in this matchup as a Zerg ever. So this Oracle kind of looks like on paper it's going to find some damage, because this, the sweet spot of this proxy is that, yeah, it's got a fair bit way to fly because it's in the bottom right of the map, but it's still going to show up before the spores go down for the Zerg. So it's going to be just reliant on the Queens to defend. And I mean, TeebuL may even wait for a second Oracle here if he wants to really ruin Demi's day, but that's when you start to, give the Zerg a little bit room to get up that spore. So first Oracle is going to go straight in there. Second Oracle queued up, but not waited for.
Well, you do have the Overlord in the dead zone behind the natural, so if he has got his eyes on the minimap, that's a little bit of extra time. And already,
good eyes.
Very, very nicely positioned Queen's going to be pushing this Oracle away, eating through the majority of the shields. And end of the day, only 2 drones taken out. No drones over here towards the 3rd hatch either, so pretty good outcome there for Demi. But this is what you were talking about. He didn't wait for the second Oracle to come out, but we are committing to the second Oracle for the time being. Trying to keep the Zerg on the back foot, as you see TeebuL drop himself a 3rd Nexus at around 4 minutes. So, like I was expecting here, we're going to be pretty quickly heading into a bit more of a macro game.
Oh, Oracle getting pepper from 3 Queens there. Does escape with its life, though. And the other Oracle swinging over to that 3rd base where it expected that Demi's transferred a bunch of drones. Demi cutting spores from these extra fringe bases is giving TeebuL a little bit more drone damage than potentially Demi would have liked. But he is at least finding purchase there with those Oracles, which are still both alive and continuously regenerating shields. So there'll be a threat again to Demi later on in the game, no doubt. Demi is, as you usually are against Stargates, whether it's proxied or otherwise, droning up pretty heavily here. As we see with that 3rd Nexus, TeebuL is switching into, normally you would expect like, Forge, Charge, that kind of thing here from the Protoss. But he's actually going for Resonating Glaives here. So TeebuL going to get a lot of Adepts out there on the field.
Yeah, I'm eager to see how many gates he drops, whether it is just going to be a couple of gates worth of Adepts, and then, that's the power of those 2 Oracles right there. just being able to zap a few more drones. You know, it's not like game-ending damage, but he's doing a good job just keeping Demi on the back foot, forcing him to just continually reinvest in drones. I'm not seeing any crazy like swell of gateways from TeebuL though here, just with the glaives coming up. It is just the 4 gates as he pumps probes. So looking for just some follow-up damage, and he's going to add himself a robo as well.
Demi's starting to produce some units here as Lear finishes up. He can head towards Roach speed. He's already got +1 on the way and a bunch of Roaches in production. And that's definitely going to help out against the ground army here of TeebuL, which at the moment, like you mentioned, not a huge swell of gateways. It's not like he's got 8 gateways behind this. It's just the 4. He is warping into depths and looking to try and get more drone damage here. It just seems like TeebuL is so focused on killing drones. And that is what these Adepts are intending to do. A patrolling Ling here for DemiLove just misses the edge of that patrol. And these Adepts are going to slip through the Sense Net here of the Zerg.
Yeah, just threaded the needle in terms of the vision there. So this might actually catch Demi off guard a little bit. I did not expect this many Adepts from just a couple of gates here. So that is definitely something Demi's going to have to keep his eye on. Has he got enough units to be able to defend this? Shade not finished. And it's not like there's a crazy amount of units here for the Zerg. So these Adepts definitely threatening at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the Lings are going to evaporate here as the Adepts really shred those to pieces. The Roaches are the ones they want to avoid. This time, the Adepts shade past the Roaches, knowing there's not more here in the main base with that shade vision, and go for that main mineral line. They only kill two drones here, forcing a bit of denied mining time as those drones find a new home, but they are continuously threatening. Now, the other Oracle has died, so while that second Oracle rolls in, it doesn't have its sister in arms, so it gets excused. This one getting a lot more drones here in the natural. TeebuL really annoying DemiLove here with all this harassment and taking a big worker lead as a result.
Oh, it's just so much damage just from like not a full commitment even. I didn't even expect that many Adepts just out of a couple of gates, like I was saying, and I don't think Demi did either. Didn't have quite enough units to be able to defend just that much, but with that much supply lost in Adepts, you're going to start to see Demi get active out on the map and get some damage done in his direction there. Nice little stasis ward. It's just layers and layers of pressure from TeebuL, and it's been quite hard for Demi to deal with. He's not committing to this attack, though. He's going to start to move back across the map there.
I think that attack from Demi, I'm like, oh, Demi probably thinks that he's got to go all in here. He's lost too many workers, and he thinks that he needs to just kind of YOLO with his units and win the game. But definitely not the case, and I'm glad that he kind of pulled back, because if he can slow down the the 4th base of the Protoss, which hasn't happened yet for TeebuL, and just get that drone count looking a little bit healthier, start heading towards tier 3. We might go to the later stages of this game, but it's also an area where I think that DemiLove could potentially start to overtake TeebuL here in technologies. He starts up the Hive and also the Hydra Den, looking to eventually go into Lurkers here almost certainly is DemiLove.
It's nothing but gates and stalkers from TeebuL off this 3-base economy, though. He's got his prism moving out across the map, and he's just pumping units non-stop. He just wants to get across the map, and if not in this game, at least hamstring Demi and take out at least one of his bases here with this massive Stalker army.
Yeah, it looks like TeebuL's the one actually going pretty all in here. This absolutely needs to kill DemiLove or do some critical damage. The Roaches leapfrog forward there with the Ravagers on the backside, launch padding into this army. Good force fields from TeebuL, and the Ravager Biles concentrating on trying to hit the Protoss army rather than breaking the shields. Now they're coming down on the force fields as DemiLove's Roach count looks pretty convincing. He's still being conservative with this Roach army though, pulling back, trying to maintain a concave, dropping Biles in the front line, shaving into the Stalker numbers, but TeebuL doing the same thing to DemiLove. This is quite a tightrope walk here.
Yeah, you just have that aggressive blink on all of these Zerg units, but with a handful of Zerglings actually popping out and a couple of drones to actually soak up the damage, you start to see this Protoss army lose the fight. Now with only a couple of drones lost, I think Demi's held.
He certainly looks like he has, and even the Biles connecting there in the end. Looks like TeebuL's kind of given up. As DemiLove gets close to that Warp Prism, TeebuL has to cancel the Warp in and pull back. And TeebuL, I mean, it was even neck and neck supply counts there. The army looking a bit better for DemiLove in the end. And now as the dust settles, TeebuL does not have any advantage at the moment. He was not taking a tier 3. He was going for a big mid-game attack. Now DemiLove's got Hive. He's got Vipers on the way. He's got a Lurker Den about to finish. And +2 attack finishing up as well. No upgrades at all for the Protoss. A lead in every regard for the Zerg at the moment.
Yeah, that was a really impressive hold, because it's not like he had an army supply advantage. It's not like he had great info on what was happening, and he wasn't cutting drones. You know, he was just going up to his normal sort of economy. You see him up to 80 workers now, and he was still able to hold that. Just some good macro and having that defender's advantage. Really scary attack coming in there for TeebuL, just throwing caution to the wind, but Demi's able to hold it. Now, like you said, TeebuL kind of on the back foot, but he does still want to give this game a crack. Cute little harassment with the Warp Prism while he gets a fourth base up and running and starts to try to catch up in tech, but he's pretty far behind at this point. You can see Demi, he's already on Hive. He's already going for all the upgrades, getting his Vipers going as well. So one Disruptor is really nothing to speak of at this stage of the game for TeebuL.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, once Seismic Spines is done and there's a good, like, half a dozen lurkers on the map, TeebuL does not have an army that can handle that. He could have maybe two or three Disruptors at that point, but they are going to not be enough. And these Stalkers, like, a great little bit of harassment there from TeebuL. A good idea, like, just trying to make anything happen with the tools that he has at his disposal, but unfortunately loses a couple Stalkers there, getting negligible damage to the drone count of Demi. Still rocking a 78 drone count. And while he's defending and spreading creep back at home, still keeping up with that Overseer scouting. DemiLove, no secrets from this Zerg. He knows he's in a prime position now for an attack.
Yeah, he's starting to get aggressive out on the map. Takes over that watchtower. And start to push back this army. Singular Disruptor does a decent job zoning, but there you go. Actually, a little bit of a run by with a handful of roaches and some Zerglings. He's going to put a lot more pressure on TeebuL, who he's losing workers in towards the natural. Demi's getting on top of the army as well, and TeebuL's in a difficult position, being sandwiched between his third and his fourth base.
Yeah, now DemiLove, I think, might have lost a Viper there, but he doesn't have enough energy on the other one, so he tried to... I think he yoinked the Disruptor, but didn't actually capitalize and finish it off. And meanwhile, TeebuL's killing a lot of drones on this side of the map, so both players are really tearing each other apart, but in the end, it just seems like way too much from Demi. I don't see how TeebuL wins this little trade here.
I mean, yeah, double the army supply at this point. Even if a fair bit of that is soaked up in those roaches, it would have to be some kind of a hero mission from these couple of Disruptors. You're seeing Demi, he's happy just taking out that fourth base. He's actually going to start heading home because he's aware he's still in a pretty decent position here. He's even taken out the natural, so that's another big source of income. So effectively, TeebuL, off that one base economy, only a couple of mineral patches in towards the main is going to be more than enough for Demi to hold that initial push and then go through for the throat.
Yeah, I mean, that looked like a game where Demi sort of started with a really good defense there, like a very solid, very clean early game. Did take a little bit more drone damage than he possibly would have liked there from those oracles, unfortunately. Well, I mean, as a Zerg, you want to take 0 drone damage, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, you can't really completely mitigate proxy oracles when they get up to 2 and you haven't killed them. They're going to get some drone kills. You just really, the question is how much. But after handling the Adept wave, it seemed like TeebuL had the lead there for a little bit after that damage when the dust settled. And DemiLove was sort of being indecisive with the attack, but that decision to pull back and go up to tier 3 and just defend ended up being a magic decision from DemiLove there to get him into a game-winning position.
I've seen so many games like this where the Oracle gets in and gets a little bit of damage and then the Adepts aren't really able to be dealt with effectively, and then you see this third punch follow-up from the Protoss just end the game. And I thought that this was going to be it, to be honest, Maynard. Like, I did not see Demi holding that, and I can't really put my finger on what actually got it done for him. It just seemed like good rallying, good fundamental macro behind it, and he was just able to hold just enough, you know, only needed to pull the drones off of that third to take a little bit of damage. It's not like he lost a base. It's not like he lost that many drones, and he was able to hold that. That was really impressive.
It was, and to answer that question, like I feel like, obviously, you know, with my layman eyes, I'm not a very good player, but the Lings showing out just in time to help out with the Stalkers was really quite clutch there for Demi. And also, as we saw at the tail end of that replay, some of the Biles even connected there. It felt like TeebuL maybe just sort of gave up partway through the attack, but unfortunately, because he had so much dedicated to that attack, it needed to go really well. So you can't really excuse, you know, taking that kind of damage from Corrosive Biles and that sort of thing. The force fields look good. But yeah, just defender's advantage, creep spread, getting the amount of Lings that you need to keep those Stalkers back away from your Roach Ravager while still doing that DPS. It was very, very close for sure. TeebuL nearly got it, but DemiLove held and then capitalized it again. And we're going to take a short break. We return game 2 between Demi and TeebuL. We'll see you then. G'day, StarCraft fans. Welcome back. Sorry about the break there, but we've got Game 2 just around the corner. I'm Maynard, with me is Pilly, and you just watched Game 1 between Demi and TeebuL there, with Demi getting the good hold and then launch padding into a lovely victory there towards the end with these Tier 3 units. Pilly, how do you feel about this series so far? One whole game in. Do you think that Game 2 is going to be Demi favored again, or is TeebuL going to start answering back as we head towards a different map here?
Our predictions are at stake here, Maynard. So I'm going to say that...
Mine's already wrong.
Hey, they didn't put the serious score, you already said, so it could still be correct on the graphic. I'm hoping that TeebuL makes a series of this, because I was expecting a long one, and I think that first game was very, very impressive in a technical way. Maybe I want a bit more of a messy one this time.
Yeah, let's get wild. You know what I mean? Like, I want one of these players to just take their pants off, put it on their head, and just get something completely out of the, there's a legend in the StarCraft scene of the Protoss Book of BS. All right, let's call it that. It's a legendary tome, and every Protoss has got one hidden under their bed, and it is just a laundry list of dirty builds that are underhanded, just gross. That a lesser human wouldn't be able to sleep at night while doing those builds, but some of these Protosses, TeebuL included, can do those builds, take their ladder points, and just sleep on a pile of money and feel good about their lives. And let's see if he does something like that here in Game 2. In the bottom left, represented by Storm Gaming, this is TeebuL.
Well, you were talking about dirty things that are under your bed. Well, the man who's going to save you and who defended a dirty, dirty build in the last game is the Indian Zerg. He's red. He is Demi.
That's right. India versus Pakistan here, a rest of Asia match. Demi just immediately going over to the third base location and taking his first hatchery here. Not even messing with that probe. Forget it. Not doing that dance. No Zerg does anymore. In fact, you'll often see a Zerg just blindly take the third base location, even if a probe isn't going across the map. Because they just don't want a bar of it.
Yeah. Eager to see if that does get exploited at all by TeebuL, who I have to say in that last game was doing a pretty good job with the multi-prong harassment and just layering the pressure time after time. Oracles followed up by Adepts, followed up by a very, very strong attack. Potential for that as well, with a bit more of a spread second base there for Demi, for some cheekiness out of TeebuL. We've already seen a little bit of cheek out of him.
Yeah, a little bit of cheek. Demi's playing, at least in Game 1, very stock standard, very reactionary. And I think that's the right way to go against someone like TeebuL, who has a reputation for being a little bit more on the wild side. The probe is coming down and confirming when the third base is coming down, if at all. There are some builds for Zerg where you can get the third base up before 2 minutes. But this is, again, like just Demi showing that he's respecting his opponent here and just going to wait for the 2.5 third base here. Not going to cut too many corners. Wants to make sure that he's safe to do it before he does it.
Well, no Stalker first this time for TeebuL, going straight for the Adept rather than trying to push that Overlord away too quickly. But you see Demi already repositioning his Overlord, because last time it was the Stalker first. And again, it's a Stargate opening. You were tipping it earlier there, Maynard. Very, very popular route of choice for most Protoss players at the moment. Not proxy, just in the main. But again, it's going to be the classic Oracle Adept dance from TeebuL, trying to get a little bit of damage done and slow Demi down. And I dare say he probably needs to slow Demi down, because he got sufficient damage done in that last game, I would say, and still ended up losing that map. So I'd say a better start for Demi would be a worrying sign.
Yeah, indeed. Demi's one of those players that's incredibly good at the macro, and if you get him to that comfort zone of like a strong mid game where he does have a little bit of a lead, it's very hard to steal that away from him. He doesn't make too many mistakes from that point on, but we are seeing the Void Ray first here from TeebuL, a very normal opening so far as he gets his second gateway as well, just to round out his wall in there in the natural. The Void Ray is fantastic, obviously, for getting rid of the Overlords and also for holding small early skirmishes against the Zerg. One Adept being thrown in here for 2 drone kills, not too bad. Also gets a bit of a scout off there as well. Confirms no super fast lair or anything wild from Demi Love.
That reminds me, I don't know if you were there, Maynard, but that was my favorite moment for the ANZ Champs regular season. It was Fluke, our host, play-by-play casting of Void Ray killing Overlords like it was a disruptor shot. Like peak energy, just
like shredding his vocal cords.
Yep.
Needed a soothers afterwards. Yeah.
It was something.
It was. I gotta say, I didn't see it live. I'm gonna have to scrub the VODs to find that one because that sounds a little bit too priceless to avoid. And I strongly suggest you guys do the same. It was on ESL Australia and also this channel as well. So we were blessed with a double Twitch broadcast there for that event. And because TeebuL is opening with the Stargate here, doesn't need to worry about Blink. He's actually going towards Charge, and he's dropping quite a few extra gateways here as well. So a lot more production on the ground for TeebuL just rounding out now. And it looks like another gateway going across the map. Ooh. And TeebuL, he's going to get a lot of charge lots real quick in Demi's Love's face real soon here.
Yeah, you're talking about dirty builds. I mean, this is essentially the fake third. No pro production whatsoever. You got the charge coming out, like you did mention, and the Void Ray just zoning as many overlords as possible, just trying to deny the information from Demi, who has essentially seen that third nexus coming up, isn't allowed in towards the main to be able to scout what's going on. So this might blindside Demi a little bit. He's going into Lair, he's going into Roaches, but he's doing this little drone dance right now, not even thinking about making any units. So we're getting into a very dangerous game state because Demi just does not have a read on this right now.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, he's droning at the moment, which shows me that Demi Love really feels like he's safe. He's just going for the regular Roach timing. You know, Roach War maybe a little bit later, but it's because he's up against a Stargate. He feels like he doesn't need that. If it's a Twilight Council, it'll be a different story. But yeah, Demi's spending all of his lava on drones here. I think this build from TeebuL might just work, Pilly.
Yep, just the info denial into this follow-up charge attack straight into the third. You're already having the Void Ray just zap a couple of drones towards the back line. That might have actually started to pull a couple of queens, but the majority of them over here towards the third. And run drones. No, he's just going to call GG. He's got no units. That's going to be it there, Maynard. A dirty build is what gets TeebuL a win in this series and evens things up.
That's right. Dirty builds done dirt cheap. TeebuL tying it up 1-on-1 there in only just a few minutes. And that is, you know, build order wins just happen in StarCraft 2 sometimes, even at the highest level. So that is one of those maps. And I really agree with you there. It was all about the information denial. You know, TeebuL had that Void Ray on full time, getting rid of Overlords, keeping Lings off the map, even getting some drone kills in the main as well, just to put salt in the wounds. And that charge lot attack just washed over Demi Love, and he had nothing going for him. Like, even if those 7 Roaches popped that he had in production, they had no chance of holding that wave of Protoss.
Yeah, I think that's kind of 2 games in a row where Demi, I mean, first game, he was still able to hold. He was still able to recover, but there were a couple of different points in that game as well where I felt like he didn't necessarily have the info on what TeebuL was doing. And here's another game where he just doesn't have the correct read and he's just droning up. He doesn't have the info that he needs to be able to see this attack coming. And it's worrisome. I'd be interested to see if in that third map he's going to scout a little bit more aggressively, maybe go quickly for like a Overlord speed or something like that, because that's 2 games in a row where there's been some dirty things coming his way and he hasn't necessarily been 100% prepared for them.
I'm going to make a prediction here. I think that Demi sees that build and he's like, oh, you want to get dirty? It's like that, is it? And then he just like breaks he's got a bottle of beer next to him. He breaks it and starts turning it into a shank. I think that's what he's going to do in game 3 here. I think Demi's going to go for some kind of rush, something a little bit wild, a little bit dirty, and answer fire with fire. And I hope that happens. I'm calling it right now. Demi, again, I'll reiterate, is not ashamed of doing something cheesy and dirty in a tournament series. I hope so.
Well, it is a rest of Asia game. You know, you talk about the beer bottle, but if anybody wants to go on YouTube right now, type quickest way to get into a fight in a pub. Apparently, it's turn your glass upside down, according to a bunch of Australians from the 1950s. So definitely worth the watch.
Wow, that's you learn something new every day. That's a really true saying. I feel like you wake up every morning and you're like, am I going to learn something new today? Probably not. I'm just at home. I'm going to be on my computer. I'm not going to open social media because that's a dumpster fire right now. And then, yeah, no, I still learned. Thank you so much, Billy. I didn't know that. I don't know what I'll do with that information.
Honestly, look, to be honest, like any of those, I don't know if you've gone on YouTube, Maynard, and you've seen any of those ancient ABC videos, but they're definitely worth the watch. However, something else.
No, you go.
Well, something else that's worth the watch here is going to be the third map of this series, because we've made it all the way to Blackburn, and a man who loves extra minerals and extra income is the Red Zerg, Demi.
That was a brilliant segue. All right. And on the far right here from Psystorm Gaming, winning game 2, can he win game 3? This is TeebuL, the Protoss. So yeah, yes, I have gone to YouTube and I have watched old ABC videos. Recently, my wife and I watched a video from the really early I think it was like mid 70s. It's been uploaded to YouTube of the suburb that we live in being built from the ground up because it is essentially a swamp that got turned into a town. and it looked so disgusting back in the 70s before it actually got built up. So that was fun. A good experience.
You are literally living in what we're seeing in the game right now. Just Demi's building up his base from a swamp. That's literally you in real life.
Yeah, we're living in a hatchery, and I hope it's not popping out lava because I can only afford the wife and myself's bills at the moment, and I guess the dog as well.
Maybe need to call pest control at that point. Maybe might be worth the investment there.
It's a good call. But yeah, so we were Blackburn here for game 3, which you mentioned we were looking at the map pool, that it is a map that can be a little wild, a little nuts. It feels like a map that doesn't really often end in the mid game. It's usually it either ends quickly with a rush through this path that the probe is going through right now, or it goes in a super late game. I feel like I've seen a lot of late game Blackburn games.
I'm eager to see. I'd prefer. I don't really care, to be honest. Either way, I'm pretty happy. I always think it's an interesting one whenever a map like this does make it to the third map, as opposed to something a little bit more standard. Especially, you know, you talk about an important tournament, and you talk about. Oh, hold on. No, he's just patrolling. He doesn't have the money for it. No, I would love it though. A Protoss Nexus there. That would be crazy.
I've seen really high level Protosses take the gold of their opponent on their side of the map on this map. It can get very, very nuts depending on which Protoss you're talking about. But that
I was watching recently that did that in GSL. I think it was SOS, but I can't remember. That was just proxy nexusing like over and over again and just trying to make it work, and it just got scouted every time. I think it was PvP though, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a proxy nexus, it's almost always SOS. That's the man with the plan, we like to call him. As we've got the Adepts coming across now for TeebuL for a little bit of drone harassment / scouting. It does have a Void Ray build again, so very normal stock standard opener. But of course, as we saw in game 2, and Demi knows, unfortunately, he had to pay the ultimate price for it. He knows that this can just turn into an incredibly aggressive timing attack. So he's got to really keep on top of his vision here.
He's going for gold as his third. And going for gold in this series as well. A couple of Adepts rolling in there, shade backwards just in case they do get surrounded. And they get that one drone and get out of there. So pretty decent Adept control there from TeebuL. He's zapping the Overlord yet again, denying the information. And that does at least supply block Demi for quite a little while there. He's only just building 2 Overlords now, so he's not going to be able to use very many of those minerals for a little while here.
True indeed, yeah. Quite a bit of minerals and quite a bit of lava even going into Overlords. Link's going across the map and are picking off that probe that looked like it was primed and ready to take that third base. And Demi, you know, he has had this base sort of spotted by this Void Ray. When the Queen's not in position, those drones kind of need to chill a little bit longer until Mum and Auntie come over and force that Void Ray off of that creep.
This reminds me of a childhood memory of mine trying to step out onto a busy road and my grandma picking me up by the backpack, you know, the little top of the backpack handle thing, and just lifting me back onto the pavement.
I always figured that's what that handle was for. That handle was for the yoink. It's not for grabbing the backpack off the ground. It's so that mums and dads can grab that handle when the kid's doing something really dumb.
Child.
Yeah, just launching them back into safety.
Yep, or out of safety, you know, whichever. I'm not partial to either.
Yeah, it depends on your parenting style. The Void Rays now from TeebuL going across the map here for a little bit more damage. They really want those Overlords, but Demi's pulled them way back. Oh, prismatically aligned. Looks like they're going to pick off the Roach Warren here. Nice pick off there. That's a kill, no cancel.
Yeah, that drone goes down as well. So 200 nice little minerals taken out of the equation there. Obviously, Roach Warren going to be a little bit mistimed. And you do have the Adept follow-up here, so... yeah, you definitely don't want to be going without roaches, and I still haven't seen it built yet here for Demi, and I'm kind of wondering if he has somehow missed that, and if he's not going to have roaches for when this Adept tack comes in, because all I'm seeing is more Overlords and more drones.
Yeah, it is once again just Demi macroing up, trying to power up to the mid-game phase here, and oh my god, I was talking about that Spire, saying that, you know, Demi really loves the Spire, any excuse to drop it down, but generally not in this matchup. This may work for Demi. This might be a really, really good call because we are seeing Adepts again from TeebuL. This is a very similar to Game 1 build from TeebuL, but obviously the third Nexus is actually being probed, and also TeebuL is keeping the Stargate at home rather than across the map.
I mean, this will be the map for it. If you look at, you know, the dead air down towards the bottom side of the map, and you can just get so much leverage flying around towards that left side of the main base. You're seeing Demi just spamming lings to either defend this adept attack here, or try to counter attack and put a little bit of pressure on. There's the shade in, but you do have the full wall in towards the ramp there. And actually, all of the lings going to start to catch the adepts with the queens coming in. The cancel as well on the Evo chamber to be able to get the full surround. That's a lot of adepts going down there, Maynard.
Yeah, a lot of adepts are definitely dying. They are getting drone kills, no doubt. 7 drones dying is pretty convincing as the adepts over at the gold base are getting work. The ones finally cracking into the main base have been thinned out a lot by the lings and queens of DemiLove. And even a Void Ray just now, just off camera, got killed by that queen. So 11 drones dying. That's really brutal. But this is recoverable for DemiLove. It's not good. You know, it hurts a lot, but he's not 100% dead just yet. I'm very, very... Okay. It looks like TeebuL is going to just round out his production and just get a big army on the field very soon here. He's getting a prison even, so he's just going to capitalize on the likelihood that Demi's going to try and drone up here.
I mean, this just seems to be TeebuL today, and maybe in general. You get some damage done, and you know, you're not happy with an edge. You want to just continue the pressure, have the follow-up, and he's just going to go for the swell of gateways yet again. He's going to go for the blink, which actually against the muters in smaller numbers here might be pretty effective. More and more adept harassment over here on this gold base, which is kind of hemorrhaging Demi's mineral income there. Again, this might be the 3rd time the Roach Warren goes down. Unfortunately, the Queens are in position there. And the mutas do finally pop out, but already all of those gateways are finished up, and TeebuL's getting ready to kick off this hack.
Yeah, if Demi had the ability to get a lot more Mutalisks out, this could definitely be something that he'd have a chance to hold. But I feel like with Blink just about to finish in a few seconds here, with a lot more Stargate, or rather Gateways finishing up, Warp Gate ready here, TeebuL has just the better army, and Demi is going to have to avoid it at all costs. The mutas are flying in, and they are probably going to try and force the Protoss to go home, but I think TeebuL knows better than that. He knows that if he just keeps committing with these units, Demi is going to lose everything at home.
Yeah, I mean, the army supply in favor of Demi for the time being, but the majority of that is in those mutas across the map. You see TeebuL, he's not interested in dealing with these mutas. He's going straight up the guts in towards the natural. He's force fielding the ramp, keeping a lot of those Zerg reinforcements in there. Whole bunch of lings popping out, but there's not really much DPS behind that.
Yeah, I think Demi unfortunately might be checkmated here. He's lost the Roach Warren for the 2nd time in this game, and no roaches, no lings, not enough lava here. He's got every single unit, every single bit of minerals going into the defense at the moment. He is not getting enough done defensively. And while these mutas offensively are definitely killing a lot of probes, he just doesn't have an answer to the Protoss army. And I think that's the biggest problem here for DemiLove, is that, you know, if the mutas do come home, there's too many stalkers for those mutas to actually stop this assault.
Yeah, just too much DPS in this base race, unfortunately. The muta's starting to come back. I thought he was going to try to swing those around and maybe try to pick off the Prism a little bit earlier, and he will finally pick it off, but I think it's a little bit too late. You just see the offensive blink from the Protoss army straight on top of everything that DemiLove has. I just don't think he has enough Ravagers behind that, although it looked good for a second. Just too much here for TeebuL.
Yeah, and these adepts, well, just this gold base in general, normally something that you would love to have as a player has been a complete liability to DemiLove. It's been an angle where TeebuL's been able to just harass that mineral line without losing adepts more than once here in this game. As many times he's killed the Roach Warren as many times these adepts showed up and killed 7+ drones at that mineral line. Demi down to 7 workers now, really just kind of processing the loss, but it is unfortunately for Demi going to be a loss here. There just isn't anything on Demi's side of the map to try and convince me that he's going to win this game.
Yep. He's effectively practicing his muta micro at this point. And not bad, you know. Couple of probes. Unfortunately, Blink Stalkers, pretty good against mutas in low numbers.
Yep. I mean, they're not Phoenixes, and they do take a little while to get from A to B, and he is losing more and more probes, but, you know, Demi needs to kill 30 more where that came from to equalize the amount of damage he's taking from these Stalkers from TeebuL. You know, Demi's trying to make a game out of it, and I get it. You know, tournament life on the line, really don't want to have to already lose 1 life in this double elim group stages, but that is just so many Stalkers, man. I think if Demi saw, like, if he had map hacks here and he saw every single unit that TeebuL had, he would have tapped about a minute or so ago.
If he had map packs, I would have expected him to do a little better than this one.
Might be disqualified as well. Luckily, that's not the case.
That's only if you get caught, Maynard. It's only if you get caught.
True. Lessons from Pilly to all you ladder heroes out there. This is it. Yeah. See, Demi finally sees the army, realizes he's out of options, and TeebuL gets the 2-1 victory after losing game 1.